Yeah. Yeah. No, well, I think it was, I can't remember if like we're talking about just how everything's dropped. Like Last of Us is coming out this Sunday, and Daredevil, the I shouldn't say the series finale, the season finale is
Season
on,
finale.
yeah, is on, it's Tuesday night, right? See that it
Tuesday
keeps
night.
screwing me up too. Like I keep thinking for this whole week, I got up Tuesday and was like, all right, well, I have to catch up. I have to watch Daredevil this
I did
morning,
that once.
and was like convinced it was
Yep.
Wednesday.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we're just trying to hammer out our schedule because it looks like it's going to be full. And of course, it always happens because I think it would happen once with like House of the Dragon. I think
Yes.
had to be on a radio show
Yeah.
for like the finale, and it was like killing me. It was just like, you're kidding, like of all night, this is the night
Right.
you pick?
Ugh.
Yes, but we shall we shall overcome. Like that's it's just this time of year it gets busy
Yeah.
and everybody breaks out of hibernation, and that's what you do. So we're back talking about Daredevil episode 7. Now,
Yes.
no, episode 8.
Episode 8. Yes. The Isle of Joy.
Episode 8. And the first episode, eighth episode, and ninth episode were all directed by the same two guys. And they had been replaced and it had been reshot, which is if you wonder why 2 through 7 seem like they're a little different with Muse, and the fact that Foggy gets shot in it. I mean, it's not that it's never mentioned again, but I mean, like, you just don't ever see Bullseye
Yeah.
until boom, number 8 here, like just out of the blue. Again, they had little hints, Red Hook and, stuff we'll get into later. But yes, the first, eighth, and ninth were all directed by this duo. And I don't have their names at the moment, but this duo, we'll just call them this duo. I'm sure Will can look it up because we are going to talk about what happened in episode 7, a real quick summary.
Justin Benson and Aaron Moorhead.
Yes, those two are the ones that did first, 8 and 9. And so it opens up and you have both couples in two different locations, Heather and Matt in the apartment arguing about her saying something completely off the wall, like I saved myself.
Yeah.
And then we'll get into that. We had Wilson and Vanessa. He takes her to some place in Red Hook, a warehouse building where you find out that's, lo and behold, Adam is still alive.
Yeah. Didn't see
Don't
that
know
one
how that
coming.
happened, but he's still alive. So these two conflicting couples are having their disagreements about stuff. You find out that they're invited to this black and white ball that Wilson is hosting, and it doesn't end on a good note between Matt and Heather. And at the end of the couple with Wilson and Vanessa is basically he kind of offers her the choice of shoot at him or let him go. She chooses to shoot him. Go through a few other things. You see him kind of lose his stuff with um I'm I'm Kristen. Is that her name? His law partner. Nope.
Yes.
Yes, let's Kristen.
Kristen
Loses
McDuffie.
stuff like that. Goes to the old bar where Foggy gets shot. Figures out that Foggy was in fact celebrating. Thinks he knows what's happening. Fast forward to the ball, well, we're skipping over. Bullseye is led into Gin Pop by. You find out through Wilson Fisk because Wilson's trying to kill him for reasons you will find out later. He breaks out but then in the meantime, he also has a conversation with Matt Murdock, like, please, if you represent me, I might tell you
Yeah.
who set this all up. Matt's like, nope, don't like you. Smashes his face, leaves. But that tooth gives Bullseye Poindexter the
That's
all
all
the
he needed.
ammunition, literally, that he needs to escape and get to the ball. Things are breaking down. Matt tells Vanessa, I know it was you. You find out that BB is kind of working under the radar, is promoting Wilson Fisk, but at the same time working to bring him down, which is an odd choice.
Yeah.
And we end with Dex Bullseye taking a gun, aiming it at Wilson for some odd reason, even though we'll get into that, why that's odd. And as he goes to shoot, Matt jumps in front. The classic jump in front,
Yeah.
gets shot in the shoulder. He's gonna be alive, or else there wouldn't be a season 2. Gets shot in the shoulder, and that's how it ends. So, after all that, what are your initial thoughts overall of the episode? We'll get into like the finer details in
Yeah.
a little bit.
My initial thoughts is that Vanessa was wearing that dress. That is number one. Anyway, my initial thoughts was it was awesome. It felt like the Netflix era Daredevil
Yes.
when he didn't have his suit yet, but was still doing Daredevil-esque things, similar to the bank heist episode that we got,
Yes.
but better
Hmm.
because in the bank heist episode, Matt felt in control the entire time.
Yes. Hmm.
Like the entire situation, the bank is being robbed. There's five, six people.
And they're very dumb. I mean, they're
Yes.
yes, they're bank robbers, but
Yes.
ultimately he knows he can outsmart them. Yes.
Exactly. So it felt like he was in control the entire time doing his Daredevil-esque things. This episode, there was so much chaos, multiple storylines that did a good job connecting, I felt, and just you felt the chaos in
The
Matt's life,
spiral.
the spiral, but not just the stuff in his life, but like even him.
Yes.
Like there
Oh,
was just
yes.
chaos everywhere. And then obviously leading all the way up to the black and white ball gala, whatever you want to call it, where Wilson is strong arming his constituents into giving him money and doing what he wants. And that's what happened in the show, not in the news headlines in real life, but whatever. And it felt like classic Daredevil again, and he didn't even touch the suit, not even the little horn, but it
In
felt
fact,
like
he even
touching.
threw his little
Yes,
walking stick into the
yeah, put
tray,
it
which
on the
I
tray and just was
right
ready to go. To me, best episode so far.
agree. Yeah, and it was you did have a big reveal. You did, I mean, like I know it was 7 episodes later, but you do have the big reveal of that Foggy was targeted by Vanessa.
Yes.
Even after the ending of season 3 on the Netflix show, where basically Matt Murdock tells Wilson, you don't ever target me or anybody that I'm around, and I won't ever let anybody know that Vanessa basically had an FBI guy killed.
Yeah.
So you find out that while Wilson Kingpin was away, getting shot in the face by Echo, that she really was she really did have her hands in everything, because again, that scene happens before Wilson ever walks back into the house when she's
Correct.
sitting there with those families. So she definitely had set that up to kill Foggy and get and possibly get Matt Murdock killed at the same time, or at least Daredevil killed, who she knows is
Yeah.
him.
There was people online debating whether or not she knew. I'm like, go back and watch the episode. She's standing right there.
Right. With
Like,
he's got the
yeah,
mask off.
he's wearing the little,
But he
towel,
has
but
it
then at
off
the end
when
he
he's
takes it
yeah,
off and looks him
right.
in the eye, even though he can't really see him. But he looks him in the eye and tells him he makes
Right.
the deal with him.
As good as he can being blind.
Right, right. He looked in the general direction.
Yes. Through echolocation, he figures out where he's
Yes.
at. And but yeah, so we do find out that in fact now the question is, did Wilson know about it at a certain point? Did Vanessa tell him at a certain point that she had done this, and that's the reason he moved Bullseye into Gen Pop, hoping he was killed?
I wondered, but I thought that he didn't know because I thought that's what she was about to tell him when Buck came over and said he escaped. She immediately turns to Wilson and says, I have to tell you something. And he says, not here. And I feel like the only reason, like Buck saying that and her immediately being like, oh, yeah, by the way, I feel like she hadn't told him. But then you do wonder, like, okay, then why was he moved into Gen Pop?
Right. Because, like, was she just about to tell Wilson, hey, by the way, I kind of had Foggy killed? Like, I don't know how to tell you this, but, like that whole pact that you made with your nemesis, I kind of broke it. Like,
Yeah,
while
I
you were
was feeling
gone.
myself when I was the new kingpin, and I may have flown too close to the sun.
Right. And
Not just the
Also,
foggy part, because I don't think it was Bullseye's own idea to kill all the random people. I
mm-mm,
think it was all part of the plan to make it look like just a mass shooting.
yes,
So
a
Vanessa
random, yes,
already had the FBI agent killed, but like she just stacked like 15 bodies
yes,
that night.
yes. Yes, she's
She is
stacking up the
stone cold.
bodies. Yes, and she was loving it. Like
Yeah.
that's I think part of the reason that you see Wilson kind of take the gun from her after she shoots at him was like, "Ooh, okay, she's maybe doing
Yeah.
this a little too much. Let's put this gun down.
Yeah.
Let's yeah, I see some bloodlust in
I
your
thought
eyes,
I
and
was the
it's
killer in this relationship.
right like that. And we also find out very subtly, it's a like I don't want to say a throwaway line, but you do find out that she in fact is the one that set up Luca getting killed
Yes.
because he had shown up to the mayor's office and was threatening Wilson. So it's not she did not put the hit out on Wilson. She was in fact they were working in tandem together and set this up to have him killed. So it was very quick. In fact, I had to rewind it to even was like, wait a
Right,
minute.
right. That was our
Did
whole
I
question for the last episode, and there was like 30 seconds in, like, oh yeah, by the way, they work together.
she's like, I helped you with that. Remember how I helped, I helped you with that Luca thing? And I was like, Ugh. Like,
Yeah.
let me okay. So I mean, like that was just whoosh and done. So yeah, and now Bullseye is out. I mean, nobody shot him, nobody got him at the end of this ball. He's
Mm-mm.
just out running around. Maybe the discussion, maybe Kingpin and Vanessa will have a discussion on why he was even aiming. I'm not clear on why he was aiming at Kingpin though,
Agreed.
unless
Agreed.
it
If
was just like
Vanessa
I'm
was
just
the
really
one that set
angry
it up
about
and
putting.
called the shots. Yeah.
Was it just like I'm just angry about you putting me in Gen Pop trying to get me killed? So this is. But I still think it would have been more impactful to kill Vanessa in front of him
Agreed. I agree with
because
that.
yeah, because I know the big deal about the line that Poindexter slash Bullseye says, and it is because you're a good guy, you would defend even your worst enemy. Um, you would think at that particular moment, Vanessa would be his worst enemy, and he'd be diving in front of her, but for some reason
Yeah.
he knew which direction the gun was being shot, and I don't.
Yeah.
That's
There's
again,
that. Yeah.
yeah, it's a little stretching, like the believability there, but I mean, like we're just, yeah, it's Daredevil. He just knew which way the gun was being pointed and
Yeah.
flew in that direction. But yeah, so yeah, tonally a lot different, like 2 through 7, but they did, I think, add enough of those Red Hook mentions and stuff like that throughout. I would have to say not a problem. In you could tell different tone, but it's still the series has flowed, at least not like wildly like, whoa, this is so
Right. For
disjointed,
sure.
right? Right. So do you clearly we still think the Punisher showing up, yes.
I don't know. I mean, I want to say yes because I think we've seen a scene in the trailer or something with him still
Right.
around. But I mean, unless it's breaking news that Poindexter got out, I don't see a way to organically bring him back. Like, I think the only way you bring him back is if they announce that Poindexter got out, and so Punisher's like, well, this guy's pretty dangerous. Maybe I should come out of semi-retirement. Or maybe we don't know how much time is going to pass from Matt getting shot. So maybe it's
True.
been a day or two. And,
True.
since someone took a shot at the mayor, it's going to be on the news. BB Urich was there. Like, she's going to, if any, like, if there's only going to be one reporter, it'll still be out there. It'll be breaking news.
Hmm.
Someone took a shot at the mayor. Uh, Lawyer Matt Murdock is in critical condition.
Right.
That'll probably come across the airwaves, and Frank will be like, "Oh, all right, well,
Right.
let me put the vest back on."
Right. As much as
Someone
me and
took
him
out
don't
Red.
right, as much as him and I don't agree, like that's still he's still one that has come and checked up on,
Yeah,
we still have some sort of weird brotherly connection,
Exactly.
just
So I'm wondering if that's what gets him out. Because other than that, yeah, it's weird because you got that glimpse of him in the second or third episode,
right,
and they haven't even like really mentioned him since. And we both thought he was gonna come out of hiding when the task force was out using his logo on their vests and bullets and tattoos and
right.
all of that. And he's just like, oh, well, cosplayers, what are you gonna do?
What are you gonna do? So, what are your thoughts on going back to the opening of that episode with the both? Let's just focus on Heather and Matt Murdock at the moment. Their interaction. Any takeaways
I
from that?
think they are setting up a bigger rift between them, either for them to break up entirely or for her to just pull away if she finds out who he is. I think I see both sides. Her
Hmm.
coming out and saying, like, I defended myself or I saved myself. I get what you're saying because essentially, yes, like you did end the fight.
Sure,
But let's not act like Daredevil did not save you because if he had not broke through the window and started throwing hands,
you were
you were
dead.
done. You
Yeah,
were
you
dead.
were.
So I get it, but I also don't want to just ignore the fact that the trauma that she's going through. She is a civilian, not a
Absolutely.
crime fighter vigilante that just looked death in the face and made it out the other side. And I do feel Matt was taking it personally because she was comparing Muse and Daredevil,
Right.
calling them children. Like, I realized that he would be slighted by that.
Right.
But also, you've been fighting crime and looking death in the face for a few years now. Like, she hasn't. And I felt like, as a boyfriend, to kind of just like brush her off, like, well, you didn't really save yourself. Like it's like he wasn't even pretending to acknowledge her very real emotions
Sure.
in that moment. Like I'm looking
Oh,
at him, like I'm looking at her, giving her the side eye, but I'm also like, you just had a very traumatic experience that you were not used to. Matt,
absolutely.
you're used to this. This is your girlfriend who's like dealing with ending someone's life, and you're just like, I mean, you can't really compare Daredevil and Muse. And I mean, Daredevil saved you, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, no, dude, like, just not the time. Not the time.
Very well said. Yes, that was my thoughts too. Was like, um, I I'm with you. Like I get what she was saying. She's saying like ultimately I pulled the trigger. Like that I was the one that put the bullets into him. Just and I look at it the same way as you is for yeah, she's a civilian who is thrown into a situation that she is not used to and she is suffering from, like some PTSD on this. Like you
Yes.
are not going to just be okay from
Right.
that the next day or however long, however many weeks it took her to recover from this. Like that's it this takes and it's an argument between people in a relationship and
Yes.
arguments like that don't ever tend to go well and sometimes stupid things are said in the heat
Agreed.
of the moment so you're just like okay like I he did his best. I will say this for his involvement in the fight without her knowing he did do admirable as far as
Yes.
like
Yes. 100%.
trying to be like, listen, like you might like I knew he was like I know no woman or no one in general likes to be patted on the head and be like, calm down, which is what he
Right.
was trying to do in a
Yeah.
good way. I'm not saying I'm not
Right.
like not crapping on his effort. It's just there was nothing that was going to talk her out of the crescendo that she was building to. Like
Exactly.
they were going to have this out. She's angry. It's displaced anger. It's real anger and also displaced anger. Is like now she's just at it. Every vigilante out there, and he's like, "Oh, hey, like let's. You're a psychiatrist. Of all people, you should know that there's differences amongst people. You just
Yeah.
can't throw everybody that has a mask on together and lump. But
But he's arguing from the side of I'm
a
a
vigilante,
vigilante and she doesn't know. And then he doubled down on that anger or aggressiveness when Buck came to the door because
yeah,
at this point he did not know that she was affiliated with Wilson and all
right.
of them. So then when
He's
that
panicking.
kind of fight,
Yes.
yeah, so he's panicking and going after her like, "Don't tell me that's your client," going on and on. And I'm like, I realize that you realize how evil Wilson Fisk is, and I think most people in New York realized it. But at
Right.
the same time, this is her job. He is a client, and
Right.
unless you want to lay your cards on the table,
Right.
you can't sit here and be going at her as Matt when really you're going at her as
As
Daredevil, but you're not
right.
willing to tell her that. So she's looking at you like, what is your issue?
Yeah.
But you're not going to tell her what the issue is.
Right. Like, I mean, like, if anything, like, clue her into maybe some of the legal trouble you've had with him. I mean,
Well,
like, give
at
her
minimum,
something, not in
yes.
just like, no, bad guy. He's just so bad.
Right.
Like, give her something. Like, don't
Exactly.
just assume she's read papers of your guys' interactions with each other. Like, fill her in as much as you can because you
For sure.
know everything as far as about her, except she's not going to tell you her clients. She can't tell you who her
Yeah, she
clients are,
can't.
and I think that did a good job of showing him about like how he is kind of at this moment in this moment in this particular episode spiraling out of control until I feel like until the wheels started to kind of click together when he was at the bar, when he was at
Yes.
Josie's at the bar, and then things started to click together, and then it was like, okay, I've got something to latch on to that's real and that I can avenge Foggy now, and I've got a purpose. Because he had told her in previous episode that he felt like he was in a dream and none of this was real.
Yeah.
Well, I think that finding out that little bit of information at Josie's gave him something real to like latch on to before it kind of all went to
100%.
poop. Right. So, switching on to the other couple, we then have Wilson and Vanessa and their interaction. What did you think about that one?
Back to Vanessa. I love a woman that takes charge. She took the gun and handed it herself. But I think getting past the initial shock of Adam being alive, because both of us assumed
Right.
Wilson killed him in their fight a few episodes ago. So to see him, well, let's take it back even further. You knew he was somewhere. It's looking back at all the episodes of him at Red Hook with his team, like you had a hostage 20 yards away in a bunker. Like that was like, wait a minute. You were playing a dangerous game there. So then you take her into your secret bunker and you saw a very vulnerable side of him that I don't want to say we've never seen before because I believe every iteration of Wilson Fisk is very vulnerable when it comes to Vanessa. That
Oh,
like we've
sure.
seen that
Absolutely.
even in the Into the Spider-Verse, the first movie, the whole thing with the collider is that he wanted to find a universe and he was willing to destroy the universe if he was able to bring Vanessa into his universe. Like that was his whole
Right.
motivation for building that machine. Like she is the center of his universe.
Absolutely.
So seeing him in the basement or bunker, whatever, basically being vulnerable with Adam sitting right there and just pleading his case and confessing to her again, it was a very good. It was a good scene. I think Vincent D'Onofrio was just killed it in every scene he's been in. Um, but then to see her like kind of freak out a little bit, but then immediately like take charge, literally and figuratively, and be like, kill him and just cool. And like she's not happy that he lied, but she's like, cool. I've buried our demons. Let's get back to running the empire the way we used to. Um, it was interesting because you see the good guy in Matt Murdock being very two-faced with his girlfriend, where, you know, not really acknowledging her trauma and getting defensive about Daredevil and then getting defensive again with when he finds out Wilson Fisk is a client because he's unwilling to come clean.
Right.
Then you've got on the other side, Wilson Fisk has a literal hostage and is just confessing everything and how quickly, unhealthy or healthy, how quickly they were able to be like, okay, I'm gonna kill this guy and we are back and everything is great. Like that's the bad guy, and then there's the good guy over here.
Yeah. And she tells Heather later at the party, like, our all of our demons are dead and buried. And you're just like,
Yeah, when she
yeah.
said that, I got a good laugh out of that
It
one.
was like, yeah, yeah. And it was like, in a sense, it's like she took care of Luca for him.
Yes.
And he was saying, like, you I'm I'm allowing you to do this for like I'm allowing you to do this for us.
Yeah.
Like, thank you for helping me out. you know, like I'm gonna help you out, but it's gonna come with like I'll give you at least the option. Like
Yeah.
here's the key or here's the gun. Like
Yeah.
you can choose to leave or you can choose to shoot him. And they she shot him and then they made out right in front of him, which
Yeah,
is always
that's their
always
thing. Just blood and guts everywhere and a dead body, and that's what gets you going. Good for you.
now. What did you think about Matt Murdock's interaction with Kristen?
Again,
And is that going anywhere?
I it goes back to the whole, and he even said it actually. I took a note. I had to rewind it and rewatch it. But when he was talking about the one guy going to jail for the corn puffs and the caramel puffs, whatever,
Harmful,
and then everything
harmful.
else, he said, "We're not serving justice. We're babysitting chaos. This, us, what we do. It feels useless." Like that scene hit hard, but it goes back to what he told Heather in the last episode that it feels fake. Like he has pretty much decided that being a lawyer and not Daredevil and being a lawyer for well paying customer like not even just the pro bono work, but just being a lawyer and working with the system feels useless.
Do you feel like he feels like that if Foggy was still alive, though?
I think eventually, yes. I think it'd be a slower slope, but I think if he, no matter whether he wants to admit it or not, I think if he is not Daredevil, he is not living his truth.
Sure.
And he hadn't worn the suit for a year. He seemed happy. I still think we would have ended up in the same place of him feeling like, because I think the system is going to break you down. I think that's like the whole narrative with Batman, Daredevil, Spider-Man, like the fact that Wilson Fisk is mayor. I think that was going to happen whether Foggy lived or died. And I think that would have kind of kick-started his descent of this doesn't make sense because we know how evil this guy is.
Right.
So I think yes, but I
But
think
wait,
Foggy
let me stop you
dying.
though. But in this meantime, is Foggy is dead, Karen is left, and he's not going to church anymore. And I mean,
Yes,
and as weird as that sounds for us to say about a Marvel character, that
that's his
the
character
church is
trait.
very important
Yes.
to Matt Murdock and who he is, and that's the reason he doesn't kill. He leaves that for Frank, um, which is why I he couldn't eat because she was like, "You don't know how this feels," and the fact is, he I don't know if he's actually killed anybody.
He tried to, and somehow Bullseye survived, but I don't think I don't think he's killed anyone. And if he did, it was very much an accident. I mean, like
Right.
I'm
So,
sure
but I mean,
you
like,
could
so
go back through all of the seasons and see him like kick
yeah,
some guy in the throat and be like, "No, that guy's dead."
right. That guy has no longer with us.
Yeah, it was like
So,
on Batman vs Superman where Batman threw like the wooden crate into a guy who flew into the wall. It's like he's dead.
yeah,
He's
he's
dead,
dead.
Batman.
He's dead. He's dead. There's no coming back from that. So it's
Yeah.
like, yeah. So I guess my point is, yeah, the system breaks him down, but I mean, like, I feel like he's been a lawyer for a while. He's been in the system. This is not like this isn't Matt
It's not
Murdock's
new.
first, right? And all of these things, all of his the things that have stabilized him and kept him somewhat between the rails, all of those are gone.
Yeah.
And yeah, he's in this relationship, and we don't know how long he's been in this relationship. We don't know if it's been weeks, months, how long it's been, but they aren't his support, his soul system like
Correct.
Karen, Foggy, and the church are.
They kept him,
So
yeah, they kept him grounded, I guess you could say.
yes, you're right. They kept him kind of, yeah, like they were like the bumpers that you put on for bowling. Like they kept him in the lane, like, and now that's gone. So it's like, do you think he would have spiraled if they were still?
That's a good point. I hadn't thought about that.
Because the
And
church is
actually,
big on him, and
yeah,
he's
and yeah, I think you might be right. I hadn't thought about that because I kind of figured he was is if you're not Daredevil, you're not your true self. But the reason why he was okay, I guess, with not being Daredevil is because he had his two rocks right there working with him, keeping him grounded. And once Foggy died, Karen left, he went to a new law firm. Yeah, his rocks were both
yeah,
gone. and that
Right.
allowed him to kind of go off the rail. I hadn't thought about that, but that makes a lot of sense.
Right. And the thing is, we don't know how much time he spent as Daredevil with Foggy and Karen in his life.
Yeah.
When we jumped into this new season, I wasn't exactly sure about how
He
much
hadn't put the suit on for a year, I think.
after Foggy died, right?
Right, but at the beginning, when Foggy has the guy in witness protection and he's like, "Why didn't you tell me?" I think he Daredevil or Foggy said, "I didn't want to give you a reason to put the suit back on."
Oh, okay.
And
Okay.
they may have said it. I can go back and watch, but I think they had said
No,
like
I
he
think you're
had
right.
done it for a while. For how long, I don't know.
Right.
I think they did say he had kind of was like he was letting the system do its job, and
Well, I mean, then you might be correct too. I mean, like if he didn't have his outlet as Daredevil to
yeah,
burn off that steam and kick bad guys, their faces in, if he's quashing one to save the other, like yeah, maybe this was just the ultimate just the pressure valve. It has to explode at some
yeah.
point, and this is kind of what has been happening, especially
I
when he meets with Bullseye.
yeah, that was yeah, that was a lot. And I think with him and Kristen, it's we talked about it last episode. She's finally reached the boiling point of getting kicked out of her own office continuously and being kept in the dark. And she kind of not approached, confronted him about it. She messed up because she also like confronted him. I was like, oh yeah, by the way, you've seemed distracted, this and this. Let me pull the ultimate card to distract you. The guy that killed your best friend just got
Like,
moved to Gen Pop, like, or no, he wants to talk to you. That's what
right.
it was. Like, you're talking
Oh,
about him being
right.
distracted, but you threw that in there.
And Wilson's the one that let him into Gen Pop.
Yeah,
So
yeah, we're
gotta
gonna we're
go.
gonna throw all of this at you while I'm mad at you for not paying attention and being focused, and then gonna drop that bomb on you, and then like, hey, let's go into this super important meeting with a client where he goes and kind of calls the guy out for being guilty of defrauding teachers or something that he
Right.
did. So that wasn't great on Kristen. Like I realized you eventually had to tell him, but I feel like you kind of could have kept that one in your back pocket until after the meeting, maybe. Not that it would have helped because he was still spiraling, and I think it's gonna lead to him maybe going off on his own and going back to only taking pro bono cases, maybe, or something. Not that this law firm was doing extremely well, because the whole reason why they took this guy as a client and the whole reason why he went to the bank that day is because they needed more funding. So
Right.
it's not
Yeah.
like the law firm is doing great, but
Right.
that rift, they have been chipping away at it. It's leading somewhere.
Indeed. Yes, it is. And it's gonna wonder if she'll make it seems like they've got to cram a whole bunch of stuff in for season over the last, but they really don't because again, season two. So,
Yeah.
if that one falls by the wayside, okay. I mean, they managed to shove so much into just this one episode. So
Yeah.
I
I,
mean,
I
kudos to
like
them.
Yeah, well, I like what they're doing with Kingpin. I think the ups and downs of the season, and I don't think the downs have been very low, but the constant, I think, has been what they've been doing with Wilson Fisk's character. I think even with the different writers, the different styles, his character has stayed consistent. You saw him, and I said one of my favorite parts of the other episodes was him seeing how tough it was to deal with the red tape of doing things legally. And you see he's finally kind of reached this point where he's just like, I'm done trying to do this the right way. He promoted Daniel, who's just the worst guy, promoted him.
Communications director. Somebody made the joke that it was like some sort of he's communications director, right? That he's going to
Yes,
spend his entire he's going to spend all day fighting with the Wendy's Twitter account.
yes. You've made that guy your director of communications. I feel like Sheila's on her way out the door. It's only a matter of time. He has his task force, which again, that whole I get uneasy every time I watch them do what they do. But they
Oh,
talked
yeah, the
about
part in the kitchen.
that was wild, and then like standing up to the police commissioner and basically telling him like we don't answer to you, we can do what we want. I was like, yo, these guys are out of control, which was the whole point. But I
Right.
was like,
Right.
Okay, we gotta do
Yes.
something. We need Frank to come back
Right.
right
That's
now.
what I was just about to say is that's I like Daredevil, Matt Murdock and Daredevil, they can take the Vanessa and the Kingpin, they can take that, but let Punisher like straighten out all of these
Yes,
police, like let him
yes.
handle that side of it. And like I
But
said,
the
we still have the side thing of BB and the police commissioner now
yes,
kind of working hand in hand.
exactly. That's what I was gonna
But
say. Yeah.
she has helped. How do you put him in a position to be mayor to bring him? Like, I don't, she's given him a lot of power,
Yeah, so she clearly has other aliases that she's writing as, which cool.
right?
Maybe she figures by writing positively about him, she can get closer to him, but I just feel like you could have been more neutral or something. I just feel like the idea of writing all of these positive things while secretly writing some bad things, it's like,
Does that
I
really
don't,
even out? Right.
yeah. But one of the things that was talked about was he mentioned the anti-vigilante crime has dropped by X% when he was talking with Daniel and Sheila. And I'm still trying to figure out, outside of swordsmen, who are these vigilantes? Like I am that like
Right.
I am trying to understand because this show exists in a larger universe, but at the same time, this is a very compact show. You have Daredevil, who just put the suit back on.
Hmm.
And you can't say vigilante crime is going down if you're referring to him, because technically it's only gone up when he took out Muse and knocked out the one guy, Powell. You could say swordsman. Punisher's been off the grid, but like, who are these vigilantes that we're talking about? That to me is like my only real issue is you're throwing the term vigilante crime, vigilante this, vigilante that. I realize we're with the story they're kind of leading to with Kingpin and vigilantes, but like in the comics, there were actual New York vigilantes that existed. In this one, it's like one and a half vigilantes, two
Right.
and a half vigilantes. Like, what are we talking about
Right.
here?
You had one kid. We knew of one other and he was killed. So I mean, like,
Yeah,
yeah, you're right. The crime dropped because now there's only one on the street. I mean, like, if
right,
your crime is dropped by 2/3, well, because Frank is
right.
off the grid
You killed
and the other one
one.
is shot and
Yeah.
Daredevil's not here. So you're like, well, yeah. So yeah, I would if it's rampant and out of control, I wish they would have, right, you like you said, like just kind of clue us into who else is out there doing this
Yeah, are you
because
going to Jersey City to go after Kamala? Are you gonna include Spider-Man? Like what I realize the storyline we're going towards, but
right.
when you throw around the term vigilante and I look at this show, I'm like, what are we talking about?"
Right. Then show us one
Yeah,
outside of Daredevil. And I mean, like you've shown us Frank. Frank's not in the game right now, as
yeah,
of right now. So you're like, hmm, okay. So yeah, I think it was good. I liked the cinematography. I like the blue. I like the colors, the blue and the
yes.
red. The blue for Bullseye when he zeroes in on something. You have red, especially with at the very end scene with Matt Murdock bleeding out on the floor.
They said that was his penance, maybe. Like one of the directors or writers said that because he talked with Frank and Frank's like, "You're looking for permission, blah blah blah." They said like Daredevil jumping in front of the bullet was essentially him going to confession
Okay.
for everything, and now he has been taking the bullet or doing whatever has now given him the forgiveness, I guess, that he needs to justify going back to being Daredevil. I saw the video. I meant to send it to you today.
But I get it. That sound.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah,
Because
because
like you
just
said, he
like we were
hasn't been
talking
going
about.
to church, so he hasn't been going to confessions. You saw him standing outside the
Hmm.
church in one of the earlier when he was following the one dirty cop, and you got that scene and
Right.
emotion on his face, and like you said, it's an important part of his character, and he just hasn't been going.
Right. No, I think that's actually a really good insight into like and it kind of like knowing that kind of lets you know I shouldn't say you know exactly where like the last episode is going to be, but you feel like if that's the case, if he served his sentence now, his mental sentence, then maybe we're gonna get a whole bunch of Daredevil in
Yeah,
this
the
last
suit's never
episode.
coming off in the second season.
He wakes up in the hospital in it.
Right.
Like, who does this guy think he is? He's delusional. I thought he's lost so much blood, he thinks he's Daredevil. So, like, yeah, no, that's actually really, yeah, that's really good to know that that's how they see that because that does make sense that he needed again he needed that he was
Yeah.
spiraling out of control because all of that all of his rock and his foundation and his stability was all gone and it's been gone for a while and he's watched Wilson become mayor and it just becoming worse and worse and he can't do anything in the system and he's has a self-imposed sentence of not being Daredevil. Like it's a lot for him for somebody who's also at the moment has cut out his ability to go and to confess to a priest where he's at. So
Yeah.
yeah. So overall, it's time for the grade A through F, pluses, minuses. Number 8, what do you give it?
I give it an A. I'm not
Oh
conflicted about the A. That is an A plus episode. The only part I'm conflicted on is whether it's an A minus or a plus. I don't have a reason to give it an A minus. I just like if it's like this was the best episode so far, I've been very open about that. But like if the last episode is just so much better, it's like I don't know how I want to compare the two. So it's an A. I I want to say A minus, but the argument could be made for A plus. That's kind of where I'm at.
no, I think A is a good one where you're just like, this was good. This was everything that we wanted. We got a lot of story in, I don't want to say a short amount of time, but I think it was just around 48, 50 minutes, I believe. You can probably find that.
49. You were
Okay, it's a
so close.
lot of story in
Yeah,
49 minutes. So I mean,
yeah, for
considering
sure.
like some of its credits. So you
Yeah,
had the interaction between him and Heather. You had we found out that Wilson and Vanessa set Luca up. You find out that like she kills off Adam. She's the one responsible. Like the Wilson gave her that right. You see him confront Bullseye. You see him confront his law partner. You see him put together that Foggy died for reasons that somebody set him that had him killed. It wasn't Bullseye just on a rampage and getting back at him and I think that kind of let him off the hook too, because I think he thought just by being Foggy's friend, he was a target.
right.
Well, that does take pressure off of Matt Murdock because and Daredevil, like, okay, it wasn't me as Daredevil that
Yeah, I can put the suit back on. I didn't put my friends in danger.
right, that didn't like literally and metaphorically put the bullseye on Foggy. Like it wasn't me as Daredevil that did it. Vanessa was doing it because of this mob thing that she's running in Red Hook in the warehouses, and this guy, this dumb Benny, was involved. So like, whew, I didn't have nothing to do with it. Like
Right.
this, and now I I don't have to keep beating myself up. I didn't have anything to do with it. Now I have a real enemy. We find that out. I think I said like they crammed a whole bunch into 49 minutes, which I said was even less than that because of credits. So yeah, I think A is good. Even if the finale doesn't live up to it, I feel like good series so far overall. I think it's been in the high. I think it's been in like right now. I think it's just about B's right now, and that's
Yeah.
good. That's
Yeah,
not
that's
that's
yeah.
not
The
bad.
lowest episode has been a B minus.
Right. Like
For a
that's
show
not
that had rewrites and had to go in a completely different direction, they have done a very good job, and that's not easy to do. I like we didn't really discuss our ratings for the new Captain America movie, but we both agreed that it suffered from having multiple writers and reshoots. So they were playing a dangerous game, but again, out of 9 episodes in the first season, the lowest episode, in our opinion, being a B minus is a good sign.
is a very good sign. So we're very excited for the finale, which we will be getting to you taping probably what day will you be back from
I'll be back
vacation?
Thursday evening. I
Okay.
should be ready to record Friday
Friday.
mid-morning because I'm
Okay.
making
Well,
watching it a
next week
priority.
by Friday,
Yeah,
we
not
will
happy
have that.
about that one.
Although we do plan on trying to get The Last of Us, that at least our reactions to the episode, the very first episode being dropped on, I believe, April 13th. So we do plan on recording right immediately afterwards. Possibly if I can figure it out, we might just have it on YouTube live that way, just
Oh yeah.
and then doing like a breakdown or like a grade for it later. In a deeper, maybe with episode 2, we'll
Yeah,
go into both of them. So,
that'd be
but
cool.
there's where you go. Let us know what you think. If you think that Daredevil, I've heard from people that are like they actually had a few people say like can't wait to hear what your breakdown is for Daredevil episode 8. So let us know
Yes.
what you thought of it. We thought it was like pretty back to
The
basics,
Netflix era.
back to original Daredevil. So like, comment, subscribe, and we will catch you all Sunday then.
Yeah.